Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is Ask the Tech Coach podcast, episode number 94. Welcome to June of 2020. I can't believe we just made it through a lot of tough times. 13 weeks now we're going into distance learning. I know tonight I'm excited because my school is starting their promotionals for the 8th graders to move into high school. There's so much stuff to talk about, so much going on. And I want to bring on my co-host for today, Miss Susan Vincent. Susan, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
Great. I'm like you. I can't believe it's June.
It is June.
Several weeks we've been through.
We've been through a lot.
It's getting surreal.
The nice thing about what's going on right now is schools are finally starting to look forward to the future, and they're starting to look ahead to what's going on. I know I just came from a meeting in my school district where we're looking at doing trainings and how to get in and virtual versus physical, all of that stuff. And the topic has to come up of how do you become a tech coach? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Susan, you've been a tech coach for a couple of days, haven't you?
Yeah, just a few.
Just a few.
Let's try 15 years or so.
And I'm so glad. This is one of the big reasons why I love doing these topics, is everybody has a different adventure. Everybody has a different story. And if you guys are, interested in sharing your stories, don't forget to subscribe today. We're, of course, broadcasting live on Facebook and on YouTube. And, of course, you can subscribe to Ask the Tech Coach every single Monday. And all of our resources are over on askthetechcoach.com, where you can check out our blogs, our podcasts, and everything. We're even working on a brand new mastermind. We're going to be relaunching it over the fall. So if you're looking to do some of that great stuff, check us out. And you can, of course, use the hashtag AskTheTechCoach. But Susan, it's not about us. It's about our listeners. Our listeners who are out there, maybe who are looking for their first tech coaching position, maybe looking for their second tech coaching position. It's a big topic, isn't it, Susan?
Yes, and a huge journey, very much a journey.
It is, and it's a journey that you start sometimes without knowing that you started.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's a journey that sometimes you don't even realize you're starting. Somebody might come up to you, a friend, a colleague, an administrator, and go, you'd make a really good tech coach. Or have you ever thought about doing professional development, right?
Yes, very much. It's definitely, one of those things you don't realize you're going into until, this is a possibility. And then it hits you and you move forward slowly in phases.
How did you become a tech coach?
So I was teaching in the classroom. I started teaching back in 1998. So I was teaching in the classroom, elementary. I had taught a little bit of middle school language arts. So I dabbled here and there. And then when I moved back to where I live now here in where I am here in Kentucky, in Bullitt County, and just outside of Louisville, I was looking for a job and I was applying for teaching positions. I was elementary ed certified, and there was a library media position open, which I had a minor and an endorsement to be a library media specialist. So that's what I did at the elementary school. I was in that library media position for 5 years. And in addition to that, I was what we call the school technology coordinator. In other words, I was the liaison between the teachers when they had a hardware failure and to send those help desk tickets to the IT department. So I was that liaison, or I could fix it if I knew how and all that good stuff. So, for 5 years there, I kind of, learned what I didn't really realize I was interested in. And through those 5 years, I became more and more interested, and I had to get a master's degree. So I got my master's degree through Florida State University online in technology management, which taught you, how to be a coach, how to be a tech director, all that good stuff. So finally, our district got to the place where we were able to apply for a federal grant. Back then, I think it was called the Title II-D grant. And we were able to get 3 what we called technology integration specialists. So I was involved in the initial writing of that grant just as a library media specialist. And then I ended up getting one of those positions. So that was in 2007. So I've been a tech coach since then. And then I just finished my 2nd year in a new school system in a private school. So, it's definitely been a journey, and I've learned as I've gone, and, learned to develop that rapport with teachers and training, which we'll talk more about.
It certainly is a journey that everybody has uniquely. My journey here started when I was teaching orchestra. I started doing professional development classes. I became Google certified, Microsoft certified. I started getting into the podcasting scene. This is 2012, 13 or so. And basically I started looking, and a school district called and found me and said, "Are you interested?" And next thing there I was, I should say. And then 5 years later, now I'm in a new school district doing some things with the tech coaching program. Everybody has their own journey. We want to hear your journey. I see people out there watching live. Please feel free to leave a comment below in Facebook or on YouTube, or certainly reach out to us on Twitter at Ask the Tech Coach. So let's kind of dive into these different situations here, because everybody's got this function, which is, what is the job? What does it do? But the most important thing here is, how do you get there? So what qualifies you, right? Does something qualify you for being a tech coach? Can anybody be a tech coach?
Well, one thing, and I've put this in the show notes for, for those of you who want to kind of study over this later, is you need to be able to reflect upon your own strengths and not be afraid to tout your knowledge. But remember, just because you are, whether you're a self-proclaimed tech geek or someone else has proclaimed you a tech geek, you might be able to talk that tech talk, but until you can talk the tech talk on the level of the user and the teacher and that beginner, you might not be made to be a tech coach. You might be made to be an IT person,
right?
But you might not be made to be a tech coach, and it's two different worlds. Though we want to meld them together and work together well, a tech coach is not always the tech geek.
You don't want to be approaching EdTech as if you were Sheldon Cooper. You don't want to be talking on this high level. I feel that a tech coach should, at first and foremost, be a teacher, somebody who's been there. And I also find, I'm going to generalize, and please pick on me here, Susan, and anybody else, but tech coaches usually come in two varieties. They're either the middle 20s, a couple years in, people find that they like technology, and then they have that, I want to get out and I want to go. Or they're somewhere in that late 30s, early 40s, somewhere in there of, I've done 15 years. I've done my time in the classroom. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
And now I'm looking for a new adventure. I'm looking for, leadership, but not principalship. And I'm kind of in that same thing here. I'm going to be 41 soon. And, I'm in the classroom. I'm doing things. I have an administrative cert, but I don't want to be a principal. I don't want to be that. I like working with adults, but I also like being in the classroom. And I kind of like swinging that door back and forth to those two different things. What are the qualifications, though? What are you looking for? Can you just get every EdTech badge and then start putting your resume together?
Well, it's not that easy. Again, you need to have those presentation skills. You need to have rapport with people. If you're not a person, if you're in the classroom and you're that teacher who doesn't always mesh well with your team and you're wanting to go out on your own for everything else, maybe tech coaching is not for you. You have to be that team player, understand what's going on. You have to be a listener. As a tech coach, you're not always the person saying, okay, we're going to do it this way. I'm giving you this tech tool. You're going to go forth and use it. No, you have to be a listener. And that's something I've learned in my journey. Starting out, I was like, oh, here's this cool tech tool. And I was sharing. So, just from my own advice to you guys who are, just starting this journey, learn to listen. Be a listener first. Get those teachers' background, experience, and knowledge, just like we do with our students in our classrooms. We have to know where they are in order to start presenting things to them.
When I think about all the tech coaching and the working with adults, I often think back to me being an undergrad, where I was a music major. We were getting lessons every single week or so on our main instrument. And I can say that during my time, I don't know how much I learned. I don't know how much I picked up. But after I was out, after I was teaching, and I look back, I realized I picked up so much stuff. but it was because I was in the moment. It wasn't hitting me that what I was actually learning. And even now, the tech coaching stuff, I hear my violin teacher in me giving those assignments, giving the pedagogy, how to do things, how to take a musical piece and break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with a Google Docs lesson. How do you break that down for somebody else? Guys, if you have any ideas of what qualifies you as being a good tech coach, please reach out to us, leave a comment below. We would love to share it with you here as we go through. Now, you okay there, Susan?
Yes, they're testing the fire alarm.
Oh my goodness, we're testing the fire alarm. What a great time to do that. I'm sorry
Yes.
for anybody who's driving, listening to all of this.
Please excuse me.
Well, let's just take a look at that, because you said that you went back for like an EdTech degree. I know there's a lot of great programs where you can get an EdTech master's. Some states require you to be EdTech certified, or whatever that way that looks, to be that. Pennsylvania, I believe, is one of those states where I can't be a tech coach in Pennsylvania. I'm not certified. In New Jersey, we didn't have that requirement, so I could be a tech coach. Connecticut's kind of a little bit different too. Do you need a master's degree in educational technology, or is a bunch of merit badges good enough?
Well, and again, remember, it's not all about the badges and it's not all about the degree, but again, like Jeff is saying, different states are going to require different things. Here in Kentucky, we don't have to have that separate ed tech degree. Many people, when they do go into the tech coaching job, end up going through and getting it. Kentucky does require a master's degree, so that's where many of our digital learning coaches, is what we call them, that's the direction many of them will go. It's not necessarily that you have to have that piece of paper saying, oh, you qualify to do this job. You need to have that willingness to learn and the background knowledge to do so. That's where the speaking the tech geek comes in handy. You do need to know your stuff, whether that came from a master's degree or just experience in the classroom, using it yourself and teaching others as you've gone along before you've applied for the tech coach position.
Have you ever looked at somebody, whether it be in your school district, at a conference, and said, you know what, you'd make a good tech coach? Have you ever thought about it?
Oh, yes. I tell, I have a handful of teachers right now that I work with, and I've looked at them and told them that. I encourage them to present at conferences, our local state conference and such. And, there's a good handful of teachers that I have right now who, would be able to fill a position if we had one available.
Why do you look at those specific people? What are the characteristics? What are the traits?
Relationships, rapport. I can't say it enough. Relationships and rapport. They have, first of all, they have that background knowledge. They use technology in their classroom, but they enjoy teaching. You can see it when they're teaching their students. And in some cases, when they have assisted me with trainings, excuse me again, I'm so sorry. When they have helped me with trainings, they have taken over and just done an awesome job in, making the teachers that we're training feel comfortable, first-time users, and such as that. So, they have, again, that rapport. That's the bottom line for me.
So not only do we have an amazing sound system in your school, but we also have a question coming in from one of our listeners here. Craig is asking, should tech coaches be full-time or part-time? And I think it's a good question, but I think that also depends on where you are. I used to be a tech coach. I was one guy, the entire district, 6 buildings. And now I'm one tech coach per building that's also teaching 12 classes. Totally different ends of the spectrum. Your thoughts? Yeah,
it's definitely depending upon the school district that you're working for, or, even sometimes it's building by building. So it definitely varies across the country. I've always been, in my tenure as a tech coach, I've always been full-time. But, there's smaller school districts out there in rural parts of the country who have part-time tech coaches, and, they're also the music teacher or whatever. So it can definitely go both ways depending on the part of the country and the size of your school district.
So you have this interest, somebody might recommend you, now you want to do this. What goes into a tech coach's resume? I find it extremely difficult to take everything that I've done, and I don't want this to sound off, but and cram it into one page or two
yes.
pages, right? And it's easy just to say, here's my resume, it's a QR code.
Yes.
Because you don't want it to be that either. You don't want it, you don't want it to say, I am EdTech's gift to EdTech.
And this is where you're wanting to put all those badges too. And, that's where you have to kind of discern of, what's important. And then we have another topic on down in the show notes of, getting to know the school or the district that you're applying to, okay, so what, study that district and think, okay, what's most important to this district? And then determine, okay, what should I put on my resume that would make me marketable to this interview committee?
I know so many people that have a standard about me paragraph and they just paste. And maybe if I'm a Microsoft district, I don't care that you're a Google trainer or a Google level 1. And so maybe that's important to put on your resume, but maybe that's third. And you put your MIE status for, knowing that. And I also find that, right. And so knowing where to put those different things is tough. And you know what? There isn't a right answer. There really isn't a right answer. I feel that just like anything else, there's a lot of wrong answers, right? But there's but there is no real right answer for doing all of this stuff.
So Jeff, let me ask you this: on your journey, you've just this past school year switched school districts. So how did you determine as you moved what to put on your resume as you were looking for a new position?
I made sure I knew the school district I was walking into. I was fortunate enough to have a friend in an administrative position kind of help me get into the school district and get the resume passed. I knew they were a Google school. I also knew that they were, we're moving into the Microsoft realm in the next couple of years. So being able to show off that I have both of those qualifications and I've got connections in both of those and I've got training, there's a lot of different things that you can use to show off. I get it. Not everybody has a YouTube channel and TeacherCast and all that different stuff. And you don't need any of those things to be a tech coach. But you obviously understand that when you're putting out resumes, people are looking at the materials and they're vetting you before they make that call. So, not going to lie, when I'm doing stuff for Google schools and for Google things, TeacherCast is pumping out a lot of Google-based stuff because I want that to be seen. And when they go to TeacherCast, I want them to see that I had a lot of how to do this and how to do that. Because that, really, that is your interview in so many ways.
Oh, yes.
The interview is a personality test, but the interview itself, it's your digital portfolio. You've got a digital portfolio. Many tech coaches have a digital portfolio. What is a digital portfolio when it comes to this? Is it a how-to? Is it a resume page? Do you have to make a TeacherCast? Like what is it that's going to get that resume, both physical and digital, seen to get you in the front door? And I'll stop you because I'm going to assume that we're going to a new building, not my principal has asked me to become a tech coach. Let's talk brand new building, strangers, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, it's just important, be sure to, in other words, not keep to yourself, but keep real to yourself. Don't try to sell yourself for more than you really are. Be yourself. If you're not a YouTuber, then don't try to make a YouTube channel and put it out there just for the sake of doing it. If you're not a blogger, don't put a blog out there and just write, shallow things that are not going to make any sense to that district. Show your own personality and how you do things, because that's going to reflect on how you're going to do the tech coaching job. For me, I'm more of a YouTube than a blogger. And so, my forte is conducting the trainings, is doing the how-to stuff. Whereas my coworkers' forte, may be something else, more of the one-on-one, right there with the teacher. So, and when you have teammates, it's going to be strength and being able to show what your strengths are going to add to that team. So, know your strengths and keep true to yourself when you do those digital portfolios or even the typed up resume. Don't try to tout something that, is your weakness, because that's going to come through and, not look great upon yourself.
We have a comment here. It says you want to make sure that your resume has the keywords aligned to the job position. I know last year when I was doing job hunting, not only was I going for teaching positions, I was going for real positions. You know what I mean? Non-EDU positions. And a lot of that stuff on the monsters.com and the LinkedIn, they're feeding these digital PDFs through keyword searches.
Yes.
And if you say EDU and they want education, it might not pop up for you. So I did a lot of research and met with a lot of people last year as far as, how do you do these things? There is no right answer, right? I totally agree with what our listeners are saying here. And again, please feel free to reach out on our comments on Facebook, on YouTube. You can certainly use Ask the Tech Coach as the hashtag here. We'd love to hear from you guys. That resume is really that conversation starter, no more than your district's resume. Whoever you're going to go see, their website is their resume. I always have a good standard of a couple of questions. How are you? How are things going with your Google system? Are you looking to change it? I try to throw a couple of those questions at the front of an interview before I start talking. Because you never want to go in there and say, Google is awesome, and have the next thing they're saying is, yes, we're going to Microsoft.
We're Microsoft School, yes.
We're moving forward because the interview, if we can transition there, is equally as important. Many people who are listening, kind of know my story. I went into an interview once and started talking about all the great things that I've done, all the ISTEs that I've been to, and it didn't land me anywhere. They were kind of offended by it. And I went, oh, ouch. Mm-hmm. And ouch, right? Ouch.
Right.
So you want to make sure that, you know who you're talking to, what their rule is. Are they a gatekeeper to get you to the next guy? Or are they the decision maker, right?
Yeah, and those are important things to know and consider who you're talking to, yes.
Right. Do you have any suggestions for interviews? Have you been on tech coach interviews other than your own? But have you been on the other side of the table interviewing tech coaches?
I have. Like I said, I was in my previous district for almost 15 years. And so we started out with 3 of us, and someone left. So we transitioned a couple of times. I was one of the constant people among 2 others. And and we just had to think about, okay, where's our focus? At one point when we were hiring one new person after I had been there a year and a half or so, our focus was still, and this was back in 2008, 2009, of just getting the teachers used to using technology. That was back in the day when we were first getting smart boards and those types of things. So it was just a person who, coming out of the classroom who had used technology. And then our focus after a few years, 5 more years down the road, we were going through some personnel transition, and we were looking at going to one-to-one. So we had to find someone, with that experience who may had dabbled in one-to-one before, who knew, and we were probably going to Chromebooks and Google at that point. So we had to, first of all, before, as an interview committee, we had to have a focus. So, if you're interviewing for a tech coach position going in, you might want to, in your studying of the district, know what their vision is. Where is their focus going? If you can't always find that out, but try to get a feel for that as you're talking to them. And, when they say, do you have any questions for us? Ask those types of things. So where are you all going as a district? What's your big picture vision? Find out about that so you can elaborate more on the questions they're asking.
Having those conversation points is really extremely important now more than ever. I wanted to take a quick pause and share with you guys a brand new blog post that we have coming out on TeacherCast. It's how to keep your parents engaged throughout the summertime through Google Classroom. I know a lot of people are emailing parents left and right these days. And of course, what parent isn't just deleting all of the same emails over again? Do something different. Have all your parents and students be put into a Google Classroom. I give you guys step-by-step instructions for how to do all that stuff. And check that out over on askthetechcoach.com. And of course, you can find out more about it over on TeacherCast. Now, Susan, as we're looking forward to this, there's a lot of people that are saying, I'd like to be a tech coach soon. I'd like to be a tech coach next year. What can people do now to start preparing for this? Should they just start blasting resumes if they're ready or not? Should they be looking at next year? Should they be applying to these different badging and different EdTech openings? What can we do to better prepare ourselves for the future? That way we can land the job that we want.
My biggest advice is to find a mentor, whether it is a tech coach in your building, whether it's Jeff and I, whatever. Find a mentor and ask questions. Jeff and I have been doing this, like he said, for just a few days. Mm-hmm. So, we can try to give you guidance and advice just through our own experience. We don't have all the answers, but we have experience. We've been on the journey. So find someone to talk to, have that mentor tell you their story, their experiences, what they've been through. That's huge. And, when I was first starting out in 2007, there weren't very many tech coaches in Kentucky, but there were a few, and I had some awesome people that surrounded me, and some of them were tech directors who were just hiring tech coaches themselves, but I did a lot of talking with them. After I even first got my position, I got heavily involved in our state tech coaching cohort, our KISTE organization, our Kentucky Society for Technology and Education. Many states have one. It's usually affiliated with the larger ISTE organization. So get involved with those cohorts. Join our Mastermind cohorts that, we're working on bettering it. Just find a mentor. That's huge. And just talk and ask questions.
Certainly want to echo that. One of the things that I've done over the last couple of years is not only create the Mastermind as an official group here on TeacherCast, but really create a global network of other tech coaches just to bounce things off of. That's how you and I met each other. Just being able to connect, have somebody to talk to, and really get those ideas out. Do you need to be a Google level 1? Doesn't hurt.
No.
Right? It doesn't hurt. Do you need to be a Google certified trainer? Doesn't hurt, right? And it's not for everybody, but it doesn't hurt. Many people are tech coaches in their building without the official title, and that's all wonderful. What is important, Susan, is that we are here to support everybody, no matter if they're in the tech coach world, looking to get into the tech coach world, or like you've been in there for a couple hours and are looking to broaden their stuff. Susan, we're here every single Monday throughout the course of the summertime and beyond. This is, of course, episode number 94. That means we're 6 away from that big 100 number.
Oh, man.
We're looking forward to it. We've got some great things coming up here in the world of tech coaching. On our next couple episodes, we've got some great topics. I'm stalling for time as I pull things up. Next week on episode 95, we're going to be talking about how to run successful boot camps. Many tech coaches these days are used to putting together their summer PD, come in for a 6-hour day. We'll feed you. We'll teach you. Well, that's virtual now. So we're going to be talking next week about how to do all that stuff. And then the following week, we're going to be dealing with episode number 96, which is how do you train new teachers? I don't know if we're going to be having people coming in to do new teacher training or if that's going to be virtual, but we're going to certainly have that conversation. If any of those topics interest you or you're somebody who's planning that yourself, we would love to have you guys be a guest on the show. You can, of course, reach out to us on Twitter at AskTheTechCoach. Leave me a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail. I would love to have you guys on and check us out. Many of you guys have been commenting on our video. We are now live in the brand new TeacherCast studios, and many of you guys are commenting on the fact that there's just so much chaos going on here. There are things that are fixed. There are things that need to get re-put together. We are building out a brand new studio here, so check out all the great stuff over on TeacherCast. Of course, you've got our Ask the Tech Coach network. We've got everything going on as far as all the educational podcasting stuff goes. And there's just a lot of great stuff as we start to kind of come out of that proverbial shell and get back into the world with all the stuff that's happening here. And I can't believe I'm saying this, Connecticut. Susan, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be doing Tech Coach Live probably around this time every week over the summertime. We haven't quite settled into a calendar yet. So if you want to check out the live show, you're going to have to subscribe to us over on teachercast.net/YouTube. We want to say thank you to the hundreds of people who are listening live.
Yes,
and Susan,
thank you.
I'm going to keep pressuring you because I like to do that. When is your new website going to be launched?
Before the beginning of the school year. So we're working on it this summer. Jeff is very graciously helping me rebuild techimaginations.net. So we're excited about the plans, and we're getting moving on that. So we'll have that unveiled for you here in the next several weeks, probably sometime in August.
And of course, we can find you online where?
Techimaginations.net and at SB314DWS on Twitter.
And we'll have all the links to that and everything over in our show notes. This is episode number 94 of Ask the Tech Coach. You can find all the information at AskTheTechCoach.com. And I hope to see you guys in a future live show or on Monday mornings when we drop our podcast. And that does it for Susan and I today. On behalf of everybody here at the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.